Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and I hope whether you are a new listener or a return listener that you are having a fantastic day. Thank you for joining me. Whatever you're doing while you're listening, whether it's cleaning, mowing the lawn, gardening, walking, or simply sitting, enjoying your home. I mean, gosh, how often do we do that? Anywho, welcome. Today we are going to talk about Georgia Rule. As a millennial, a good Lindsay Lohan flick was bound to make its way into the podcast sooner or later. For those of you who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, I'm going to give a spoiler alert here. Well, I mean, not really, but I'm going to dive into the premise of the movie Georgia Rule. Rachel, also known as Lindsay Lohan, goes to live with her grandmother, Georgia, aka Jane Fonda, in her Idaho home. So how fitting, right? Now I'm in Idaho. Grandma Georgia, she lives by a strict set of life rules that she refers to as Georgia Rule. And we're going to take this concept and we're going to lighten it a bit because who am I to talk about life rules that you should consider? That's a therapist's job. I'm going to talk about house rules. Although honestly, I'll probably share some of our life rules. But again, they're personal. As I always say with this podcast, you can take what you like and leave the rest. This is not a one-size-fits-all. It's just meant to be inspirational. So Georgia Rule could be a Brittany rule or a Duncan rule. Basically a house rule or a rule for your family. It's a you rule. I think when you put a personal touch on a rule, by using your family name or your name, it stresses the importance. It gives stakeholder buy-in. It can be simple things like no shoes in the house, Duncan Rule. But it can also be more important things like family matters stay private, Duncan Rule, which is a real one, actually. Before we dive into this, let's go over my 3 favorite things of the week. Number 1, Trader Joe's Take and Bake cookies. They're so freaking good. I just went on a bachelorette party trip and I brought these cookies, and each night we had freshly baked cookies and they were so good. So good. Way better than Toll House. I'm going to say it. They were. Toll House, don't come after me. I mean, if you want to send me cookie dough to do a side-by-side, I would not say no. But I'm pretty sure Trader Joe's would take the cake. They're so good. I will say they're designed to be eaten straight out of the oven. Honestly, they've never made it past that stage for me. I've never tried to put them in a Tupperware. They all disappear before we even get to that stage. But I don't think they would be as good once cooled in a Tupperware, but fresh out of the oven, holy smokes, so good. So if you have a Trader Joe's near you, go and get the chocolate chip or chocolate chunk cookies, chunk cookies, not the gluten-free ones, just the regular. Unless you're G-free, then by all means, I just get the regular. Okay, anywho, number 2, morning walks with Sage. It's starting to get hot here in Boise, so rather than taking Sage on a long walk after work, which is our normal routine, I've been doing it in the morning, either after my workout class or after Johnson heads to work, and we get him out the door, and it's just really lovely. One thing about living in the high desert is that the mornings are crisp and cool, even if the afternoons are burning hot. When we lived in Charleston, South Carolina, it was hot in the summer, and always, didn't matter what time of the morning or night it was still hot. So here in Boise, I love the little reprieve that we get in the morning. And even if you don't have a 4-legged friend, I recommend starting your day with a walk. No headphones, just you, your feet, maybe the feet of your spouse, or if you do have a 4-legged friend, definitely bring them. And then nature. The sounds are just lovely. I'm officially at that age where I'll be quoting Lindsay Lohan movies and enjoying birdsong in the same breath. So I don't know what that says about me, but hopefully you can relate. Last but not least is another food item. Can you tell I'm in my luteal phase? Hey. Chocolates. Get them from Costco. They are called Unreal, and they're delish. For my Canadian listeners out there, they are like a cleaner version of a Bounty bar. For my American listeners who have not been blessed by a Bounty bar, it's like an Almond Joy without the almond. Coconut goodness wrapped in dark chocolate. They're so similar, and they have pretty clean ingredients, and then when you chill them in the refrigerator, actually, that's a Duncan rule, is that chocolate goes in the fridge. A perfect little dessert treat. So good. Okay. Back to Georgia rule, or your rule. Let's brainstorm this idea a little bit. So I'm going to start with I know I said I wasn't really going to get into life rules, but I don't know why this is the one that's coming to my mind. Okay. Family matters. Stay amongst the family. Duncan rule. Another Duncan rule, or really it's like a Brittany rule, is that I don't husband shame or bash. I'm sure I've broken this rule down a time or two on the podcast, but like also I'm sure that I have broken this rule a time or two probably on the podcast as well. But it's one of those practices that I think can seem pretty harmless in the moment. Ugh, my husband's so lazy. Everything is up to me, blah, blah, blah. This type of complaining or bashing does not do anything beneficial. We can wrap it up and be like, oh, it's just me venting. I just need to blow off steam. But really, when you like unpack it, it doesn't help your husband understand how you're feeling. It doesn't help you feel better. It only creates a feedback loop to whoever you're talking to feel they can chime in on your spouse and how he or she could be doing more to help you. If you feel upset or angry with your spouse, it can be really tempting to call your mom, your good friend, your mother-in-law, to divulge your feelings, even in the chair at the hairdresser, which, hey, I've been guilty of. But I just really try not to. A homemaker chic, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name right now. She has this saying called, take it to the throne, not the phone. AKA, take it to prayer. Don't call your mom to rant about your husband. Not going to help. Outside of God, there are two people I accept talking to my husband about. My therapist and my husband. So either our marriage counselor, if it's that bad, I will set up an appointment and we will go together, or my husband. Because outside of those people, nobody has the interest at heart. Certainly not my husband's interests or your marriages the way that you do. I mean, I'm not saying that my mom doesn't value my marriage, but she definitely values my well-being more. I'm her daughter. At the end of the day, she's biased. She's gonna probably side with me. I mean, there's definitely some tough love moments, but whoever you're calling to vent to, you're probably calling because you know they're gonna back you up when you really unpack it. So that's a Brittany rule, is that I don't husband shame, and a family rule is that family matters, stay amongst the family. Kind of similar to the family thing, stay amongst the family. This is another serious one, but is that you don't trust anyone outside of your family unit. That's a Duncan rule. You can decide what your family unit looks like. Maybe it's just you and your husband and your kids. Maybe it extends to your siblings and your parents. But as much as I love my friends, and I've had friendships come and go over my lifetime, to know that friendships are not always permanent in the way that your immediate family circle is. You may listen to this and think I'm incredibly cynical, and maybe so. But personally, and in our family, we just don't open ourselves up to be burned. We don't tempt fate. We don't put ourselves or our family in vulnerable situations that could expose us to risk. So that's Duncan rule. Here I was saying I wasn't going to get into serious family ones. Let's move to some later ones. This one was from my parents when we were kids. It's their family rule. And it was no dairy in the car. Family rule. No exception. I'm sure after having 4 kids, my parents knew well enough that a spilled milkshake would be a disaster in the South Carolina heat, causing our car to smell sour for God knows how long. So it was simple. We all knew. No dairy in the car. Family rule. No shoes in the house. It's not a hard rule in our house, but it definitely was growing up with like my biological parents. Like, and I think that's because it's more of a Canadian rule, but I know a lot of Idahoans follow it as well. So maybe it's like a cold climate rule. But you don't wear your shoes into someone's home. Like, that would be incredibly rude in Canada. And a lot of Canadian homes have mudrooms, and like that's where you would leave your snowy boots or even like your running shoes in the summer before entering their home. And a lot of people bring like what they call house shoes with them that are like strictly indoor shoes. So if you want to wear shoes inside someone's home, like you bring your house shoes. And it makes a lot of sense. Shoes are filthy, and wearing them into your home is like a wild concept when you really think about it. So I would say that like Johnson and I are 90% no shoes in our house. Exceptions are like when we're hosting, we tell people that you can leave their shoes on, and I genuinely mean it. I want people to be comfortable in my home. So if you're listening to this and you ever come to my house, you do not need to take your shoes off when I say, oh, you can leave your shoes on. Like, I genuinely mean it. I'm going to vacuum when the guests leave, so it's really not a big deal. I want everyone to be comfortable. But I'll wear my shoes in the house when I'm carrying in the groceries. Like, I'm not taking on and off my shoes to go in and out from the car carrying groceries. But for the most part, shoes come off at the front door. This is a new one that I'm still trying to remember. Johnson, if you're listening, I'm working on it. If you buy a snack or a treat, you can't just put it away. You have to tell the family that it exists, or at least your spouse. That's our rule. So like, he will open a cupboard and be like, what? I didn't know we had whatever, chips. And I'll be like, those have been in there for 2 weeks. And in my experience, I love you, dear, men only see what they are looking for. So if he opens the fridge looking for leftovers, he will see the leftovers. But he will not see the snacks I prepared one shelf up from said leftovers. So it's become a Duncan rule that if I buy something he would like, I tell him about it so he knows it's there. Duncan rule, we are each responsible for our own laundry, washing, drying, folding, and like putting away. If you pull the other person's laundry out of the dryer, you take it to the guest bed and like put it on the guest bed and kind of like fluff it out so that it's not all shoved in a laundry basket getting wrinkled. That's like part 2 of the Duncan rule. And if you choose to fold the other person's laundry or put it away, it's a loving gesture, but it's not expected. Duncan rule. Okay, this one might be self-explanatory, but it isn't always. If you use the last of something, put it on the grocery list. Duncan rule. If you use something up, for the love, do not put the empty container back. Duncan rule. If you use all but 1 teaspoon of something, finish it. Duncan rule. There's nothing worse than like picking up the thing of milk, thinking that there's milk, and then there's like 1 tablespoon in it. Finish the dang milk. If the other person cooked, you offer to do dishes. Duncan rule. If you both cooked, you still offer to do dishes. Duncan rule. See how that works? We are, in your marriage, you are pitching together. Okay, this one's a serious one that I picked up from a high school boyfriend, and he was really serious about it. And it was that you don't keep score in relationships. And while that relationship failed, that lesson has stuck with me for years. So, as one of my favorite saying goes, it wasn't a failure if you learned something. And what I learned is that keeping score in a relationship is a sure way to end it. You and your spouse are a team, which means whatever you put your hand to, you are doing it together. I promise for everything we keep score of, today I vacuumed, I made dinner, I walked the dog. What did he do? There's a list of things he did that you didn't notice or he didn't tell you about. He took the trash out, he paid the electric bill, and he filled your tires with air when he drove it to run an errand. If you keep score, it's like resentment. It's not a good thing in our relationship. Maybe it works for you, but it's a Duncan rule that we don't keep score. If you say executive decision, it goes, whatever it is. It's not to be taken advantage of, and with us, it never has been. So let me lay the groundwork of when this Duncan rule is used. Often it's when we're building something together or moving something heavy or just in a situation where like a decision needs to be made quickly, but there's debate about what the right move is. Sometimes we talk it out, but other times one of us will just say, executive decision, let's do blank. And we just go with it. Another version Johnson likes to use is to say, I'm driving. And that's code for let me lead. Again, typically in projects, I don't know what it is. It's like you bring a man and a woman together and you try to get them to build something. And especially if you're like me and you're like kind of an independent woman who like can use tools, it creates a little bit of chaos. So we have this rule. If you say I'm driving, it means that you're leading. Basically, it's like 2 words, I'm driving, that establish control of this situation without being a control freak. It's 2 words that actually mean, hey babe, I've got this. Let me lead, and when I need a hand, I'll ask you for it. And it's like, we just both understand that. I asked ChatGPT for some others because I'm curious about this concept and expanding it more for myself. And there's a few that came up that I love. And so here's one we do, but like we've never formally addressed it. And ChatGPT titled it, Your Plate, Your Business. And I'll say it's a new Duncan rule. And it is that we don't comment on what each other eats. We don't side-eye second helpings. We don't ask, are you going to eat that? This house is food neutral. If a guest wants 3rd helpings, I'm honored. If they don't want dinner after all, maybe they are like, you know what, I'm so sorry, I'm not really hungry. I'm not offended. Their plate is their business. Isn't that one so good? Food is personal, and who is anybody to comment on what anybody else eats? Even our spouse. They're grown-ass adults. Let them make their own choices and respect their ability to do so. Okay, another one that a ChatGPT talked about was relating to apologies, and I'm going to get a little vulnerable here. I'll call this Duncan Rule in progress. When you apologize, mean it, and more importantly, take accountability. This is huge for Johnson, and it's a hard one for me sometimes. I am going to explain this not to make an excuse, but just as a little background. Growing up, a phrase that was used often in my home, was "you owe me an apology," and even saying that now raises my hackles. As a child, I often was not given time to cool down and come to my senses before I was told I needed to apologize. Were my parents wrong in telling me I needed to apologize for my behavior? No, I'm sure I did need to apologize for whatever it was that I had done. But forcing an apology out of your children, it doesn't train them to apologize, on their own, and 2, it trains them to apologize without actually meaning it, which is a hard habit to break as an adult. So there it is, some vulnerability to close out this episode. Duncan Rule in progress, at least for me. Johnson's really good at apologizing, but the rule is to apologize with intention and honesty, and most importantly, accountability. I hope this episode has given you something to ponder. What family or personal rules can you implement to simplify your life and the standards you live by? Can you get family buy-in if you make a family rule where everyone agrees? I bet you can. Until next week, happy homemaking, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.